van Nigel. This boy is electric.
Hi everyone, welcome back for another video. On a mini road trip today, we're going from Norwich up to Humberside, and it's about 160-ish miles to get there, 160 miles back, so a 320 mile journey in the mini electric. As you probably know, mini electric is a 140 mile range if you're getting 5 miles per kilowatt hour. If you're doing really well, if you're only getting 4 miles per kilowatt hour, well, that'd be 120 mile range. Susan's doing the driving today, and it's another experience for Susan to try and get used to charging. So today, rather than helping her at the charger, I've just left her to it to go and plug the car in, and we've done the maths. We've worked out what we need to do to get to our initial destination. We're actually stopping overnight before we get to the final destination. It's 130 miles to get there, so it's right on that cusp of will we, won't we get there. So we're doing a stop here just to practice charging and also add some contingency. It's a little bit scary thinking about how many miles we're going to be doing, and we're away from home, we're away from our solar charger, so there's a lot of miles that are going to cost us. So if we get 120 miles range from the car and we're doing 320, that's 200 miles we're going to have to drive extra and charge for. So 200 miles, 4 miles per kilowatt hour is 50 kilowatt hours. Add some contingency for charging losses, let's call it 55 kilowatt hours that we've got to add. At 50 pence a kilowatt hour on the Instavolt network, that's going to cost us £29, so almost £30. And we just worked out that if we were doing that 320 mile journey in Susan's petrol mini, that would be 50 miles to the gallon and £1.58, I think, per litre. So that works out to be about £45–47. So our journey today is all about, Susan would normally just take the petrol mini and wouldn't worry about it. And I'm trying to encourage her that it's not difficult. It is easy to take the electric. At some point, we've got to charge the car fully back up. So at some point, we've got to charge the car to get back home again. But if we're doing it in 10–15 minute stops each time, then it's not actually an inconvenience. We're not actually losing much time. It obviously does add charging time and does add distance to the journey. But I'm hoping this will be a good example and encourage Susan to want to take the electric mini more than her petrol one. No, he's going to do his reversing thing, reverse in.
It's the tricky bit.
So we were just watching this Mitsubishi Outlander. He's just had a look and checked out the charging cables. And is he going to charge?
No.
No, he's decided to go and use petrol instead. You've really got to laugh, haven't you? I mean, he's got a hybrid car. It's got petrol in it. Why would he want to go and fill up at 50 pence a kilowatt hour and keep driving it on battery? Unless, of course, that 50 pence a kilowatt hour is cheaper than petrol, in which case I suppose you can't blame him for trying to be economical. But I despair at hybrid drivers, I really do. It's I can just see it getting worse and worse, where the people that have got these hybrids don't understand electric. They don't really want to. They're trying to avoid it, and hence they keep filling up with petrol. And they're just so confused about what they're doing and what they're not doing. I think they're an awful idea. They might be helping somebody somewhere, but they're not really helping us as a society move forward to electric, in my opinion. I don't like them. They get in the way. Don't buy one. Right, Susan, how are we doing?
70%. We've got
70% and 79 miles.
We've got 11 minutes to go.
Right, so Gainsborough, where we're going next, is 81 miles away, and we currently have 81 miles of range. It's just it's just gone up to what it is. So I would say let's charge up to 80% and then go from there. Okay. So we give ourselves another 7%. That'll be another 7 miles at least. That'll be nearly 90 miles.
Why has it got a warning truck?
So the journey so far, we've driven at an average of 46.9 miles an hour, but that's not true. 46.9 miles an hour includes our stopping time with the ignition on in the car. We were driving along and it was averaging 49.9 miles an hour. So roughly 50 miles an hour is the average speed we've been doing. We've been driving mostly 56, 57 miles an hour, and the miles per kilowatt hour is 4.4 is what we're getting. And the temperature when we set off was 17 degrees, and it's now 14 degrees. So it's not perfect, it's not great, but 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour still isn't great, but it's enough. It's enough to get us there comfortably. And I don't know how long we've been here. I set this video going pretty much as soon as we arrived. It's been going 8 minutes, so we've probably been here 10 minutes so far. So I think it's time to unplug in just a couple of minutes. So anyway, I'll update you when we get to Gainsborough and whether we've made it with enough contingency or not. I'm hoping so long as we get 10 miles contingency, that's plenty. 10 miles gets us around a place to find another charger. Our planning for the trip on choosing Gainsborough, we were going to go somewhere else, is that there's an Instavolt just around the corner from the hotel we're staying at, and there's a Tesco Pod Point which should be free if it's open and available, and there is in the car park where we're going to stay a Genie Point charger, but it's a 22 kilowatt AC charger, so we're only going to get 7 kilowatts of charging, and it's Genie Point. I've never used Genie Point. I'd have to install the app, I'd have to set my bank account details up on their system. There's no contactless tap your debit card and pay, so it's one of those ones where I hate Genie Point. I've never used them, and I don't really want to use them, but it's there as a contingency if we have to, I guess. And I think I said so online on Twitter to Genie Point. Do they really want to be the network of last resort? I wouldn't want to go to a Genie Point charger unless I had no other choice. The Genie Points that are in Morrison car parks, the car parking spaces are really narrow. They have a reputation for not working and not maintaining the chargers. You've got to give your personal details over to them. You've got to set up an app and log into the account. And they take a pre-authorization charge as well. So if you have any charging issues, you're going to have to contact their customer services and try and get your money back at some point. And it's Sunday, so that's not going to work today, is it? They're no doubt not got support, or on limited support anyway. And then the last thing I hate about them is if you look at the site and look at their frequently asked questions for Genie Point, it's how to unplug your cable when it gets locked. So they're obviously experiencing a lot of locked cables on their chargers, and I just don't like the idea of that either, especially if it's a low support day like a Sunday. How are you going to get your cable back if it's locked on and they don't offer any support? There's all these risks and hassles which have nothing to do with the actual charging really, and that's why Genie Point is on the bottom of my list for charging, along with BP Pulse and all sorts of charging networks like that. Right, anyway, Susan, you can go and unplug. So just tap the Instavolt card.
Okay.
So tap the Instavolt card on the charger again, that'll stop the charge, and then you can unplug and put it all away neat and tidy.
Oh, right, it's 10,
So she wasn't ready.
no.
It's that fast.
Okay, cool.
10 or 11 minutes, and that's all it took. So while she's not here, she's doing quite well. Last time we came, she actually struggled more to get the plugs off the car and sort out how those plastic caps went in than anything else. But normally I actually help her out at the charger, so I'm deliberately keeping out of the way. Anyway, what we're trying to encourage is it's not difficult. There is contingency as long as you add enough. I'd like to think I could send her out on a trip like this on her own, and all she needs to know from me is how much do I have to charge, and then she could pick up the phone to me if she really wants to and just double check. So as long as she's got that sort of confidence, she should either be able to do it on her own or with a little bit of telephone support. But we're off by the look of it. We've got 95 miles of range now. We've got 83% battery in the Mini, and we should have a good 10 minutes spare charging. So thank you very much, Instavolt, using their card. We do have an app with Instavolt, and I really like using it. You can either use the app to authorize the charge, or click this on the charger. So anyway, I'll update you later. Thanks for listening. Hope this journey goes well. I'll show you a little bit of the journey and driving when we find some decent roads. It's been horrible so far. It's just A47.
Ready for takeoff.
Okay, off we go. 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, please.
Yeah.
I forgot to say on the video earlier, one of the things that we did is we were driving up the A47, we passed Necton, which has 8 chargers. We checked on the map with Instavolt to make sure that there was a charger available here, and we drove past the one with 8 spare chargers to come to the one with 1 spare charger, because this is a really good charging site for Susan on the journeys that she does, so we want to just get more experienced at using this one. But it's really handy being able to look on the map and see if this was busy and had both chargers in use. Then we could have stopped at Necton and done this charge at Necton. The charging rate wouldn't quite have been as good, but it would have worked. Oh, anyway, because of the extra efficiency pulling away now, we're at 99 miles of range, so loads of miles. We should be absolutely fine. Update you when we get to Gainsborough. So we arrived at Gainsborough with 34 miles of range left and 28% of battery. Plenty. In fact, if we hadn't have stopped and charged, we should have, maybe have made it. It was touch and go, so it really was nice to have added that contingency, I guess. So the first thing to do when we arrived at Gainsborough is walk Cracker. Obviously we need to look after Cracker first, but I thought I could park in this Tesco car park and charge on the 50 kilowatt rapid charger, a nice pod point charger, but no, alas, it was not working. So we had to plug in on the 7 kilowatt charger instead, but still a few kilowatt hours for free, that'll do us while we're walking Cracker. But what we added at the pod point was nowhere enough to get us to our destination, so we pulled in at an Instavolt charger, and for about a quarter of an hour we charged up to 80%. That, in my calculation, should be enough to get us to a destination and then get us on to the next Instavolt charger on the way home. Journey so far, 133 miles and 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Okay, update time. I think I left you yesterday at Gainsborough, so I was basically charging on an Instavolt charger, adding enough energy to hopefully get me up to where I am now, Barrow on Humber, near the Humber Bridge, and then enough to get us back to Boston for charging. But like a fool, I got it wrong. I misjudged the charging and unplugged too early. We were about 7 or 8 miles short of being able to get comfortably to Boston. So if I'd have milked it and drove really slow, we might have just made it. The journey distance was 65 miles from where we are now to Boston. And the car says it's got 58 miles of range. I know it's got a little bit in reserve, etc., but that's not how I want to run the car. So we've driven north up to Barron Humber, and we've got 58 miles of range left now to get back. And I feel sort of anxious that I wanted to get the charge. It's not range anxiety or charging anxiety, but I just thinking, oh, right, now where can I find a plug? And I was looking around, there was a burger van with a generator running. I'm just thinking in my mind, he's got a generator running. What if he's got any spare electricity? What if I could buy some rather than a burger? And your mind just travels anywhere trying to think, how am I going to get a charge? So anyway, been online, had a look at the maps, and 4.5 miles away there's a Tesco's with a pod point, and there's a Lidl with a pod point. Arrived at this Lidl and found the 7 kilowatt pod point charger is broken and doesn't work, and there was an e-Nero plugged in using the CCS charger. And like a wally, I started thinking, okay, I'll just wait. So 45 minutes later, the guy turns up again. He's just here blagging a cheap charge, because actually 26p a kilowatt hour on the pod point is cheaper than it is at his home. We were having a nice chat. Nice guy. He came back when his car was about 90% full, so, you know, not too bad. You know, I was happy. I waited 3/4 of an hour for it, but plugged in, and the really good news is I'm getting a free charge. This pod point charger isn't confirming charges, and it's continuing to charge. So I arrived here with 55% battery. I'm now up to 93. There's no one around, so I've got a few minutes. I thought I'd just do this video, and it's just going to creep up to probably 95% before it really slows down. The Mini doesn't slow down terribly until the very last moments, so I'll get away with that and move off if anyone arrives anyway. But silly me, I'd forgotten that with pod point. I'm so used to just charging on 7 kilowatt chargers. You arrive, you click confirm charge, and it works. You think, well, how do you pay? I forgot that you normally have to pay on the faster chargers at these pod points, the CCS ones, and I haven't got any money on my account. So all a bit embarrassing as a 3-year veteran of EVs, acting like a novice. I haven't got a clue. You really got to laugh at it, but these things work out, don't they? I had options. If this guy hadn't come back, or if I'd have got bored, I'd have moved on to the Tesco and just grabbed a 7 kilowatt charge and done that. There's options. There's always options. And worst case scenario was I would have to drive out of the normal route that I wanted to go onto a less attractive road. I think we'd have had to go to Grimsby, where My Energy are, and charge at an Instavolt there, and that would have been our option. So we'd have to drive further, probably 20 miles out of our way, plus a charge that would slow us down, to then get to Boston to charge to get home. So it's a lot of charging stops, but this is working out really well. Susan's at the dog show, and she's happy with her chair and her gear, and she's running the dog around the field, and I've disappeared and gone out to get the charge. So we're going to have enough charge now. By the look of it, just a couple more miles, I'll have enough charge that we could skip Boston and go all the way to Necton. So that gives us now lots of options, and this is how I prefer it. We're going to have enough charge to go to Boston, Kings Lynn, or Necton. So we've got lots of choices on the way back, all of Instavolts, all brilliant. So yeah, interesting, but another lesson learned. The more I charge, the more I'm learning. Another lesson learned, that even with your maths, don't just go, oh, that's just enough. Add a bit more, and add a bit more contingency. I'm going to remember that in future, and always add just a little bit more than what I need again. But a really good trip, really easy. Hopefully Susan hasn't felt any of this gotta charge stuff. If she had been up here on her own doing this, then my advice would have been just stay on the Instavolt as long as she could and get as much charge as she could, and that would have been the easier way. I've gone a really economical route. I feel like I've cheated again. Even the 2 Instavolt chargers that I've used, I've actually got those for free as well. I've just had, because yesterday's Instavolt charge was the first public charge with Instavolt I've done over 10 kilowatt hours since I applied for their app, and I get a £5 credit for that. So our charge yesterday was £3.80 and then £6.20, so I think it's worked out about £10 in total. But I've had a referral through from Instavolt as well, so another £5 credit, so I've got £10 credit with Instavolt, and that's what I've spent. This is a funny old thing, and it really makes you smile, all this free fuel. So free fuel, thank you Instavolt yesterday, and free fuel, thank you pod point today. I don't know whether you know the system here is not working, but it's probably just a comms issue. It's probably just a fault with it, but they decided to leave it on and working anyway. And what a better way of doing it rather than just leaving it unavailable so people get stranded. This has really helped me getting this charge so I can get home comfortably. So thank you, Lidl. Thank you, PodPoint. And what am I doing this morning? So far, miles per kilowatt hour, 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. And the journey up here was 4.6. So hopefully on the way back tonight, we'll be averaging 4.5, 4.6. I'm now at 96% state of charge with 103 miles range. That is enough to get to Necton. So this is going to be a really, really cheap trip. 320 miles in total. And I'm going to have to do a splash and dash to get home comfortably. So add 20 or 30 miles. So this journey's not going to have cost me more than a £5. Because I've got £10 worth of credit with Instavolt and a free charge from PodPoint. This EV stuff, I was just talking to the bloke with the e-Nero. And it just really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why is it people don't get it? This is a better way to go. Yes, you got the charging and the faff, but it's enjoyable when you get free chargers. It's enjoyable. You don't have to go to stinky petrol stations. It's enjoyable that it's cheaper. I don't know why people don't get it, that the compromise and the hassle, even of a low-range Mini like this, is way, way better than going in petrol. Anyway, I think I'll sign off with this. Thank you so much for watching these videos. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Bit of a charging adventure. And I find it nice. It's nice that I still don't know everything. It's nice that I'm still learning as I go. And it's nice that it's all working. So the more I charge, the more I drive, the further we go, the just better we're getting at this in the contingency. And another quick thing to mention is we're up near the M180, near the Humber Bridge, and the chap in the e-Nero just told me that the garage on the junction that I've just passed for the M180's got 10 chargers going in. So I'm about to go online and have a look and see which they are. I mean, if they're Instavolts. Wow, just brilliant.
So there's me in the field waiting for Susan, all charged up and ready to go, 93% of battery, 106 miles of range. I set the sat-nav up to see how far we've got to go, and we choose Boston in the end. We want to go for something to eat. There's a Papa John's pizza place there. That's what Susan wants, so we aim for that. 63 miles is what we've got to go. And yep, as soon as I set the sat-nav, 93 miles of indicated range. We've just lost 12 miles before we started. But it's not real, is it? It's just a guess. It's just an indicated range. Anyway, the drive was really, really good. Enjoyed going through the Lincolnshire Wolds. It was worth it to go the right direction rather than the boring roads. We arrived with 50% of charge left over. Instavolt, as always, was brilliant when we got to Boston. Really loved their chargers. The spaces just seemed wide enough. The systems work fine. And yeah, we were there 24 minutes while Susan ate a tea. And we charged with slightly more than we needed. 84 miles is what we needed to get home. So anything over 80-84% was plenty for us to get there. And so far, 35 miles an hour indicated. Average with 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. But by the time we got home, we'd done 145 miles, 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour because we put our foot down at the end. Average speed went up to 43 miles an hour. 26% left, so that was our contingency that we'd added. We stayed at Boston just that little bit longer. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this journey and all my ramblings about the charging and the states of charge and the miles, etc. But at least it lets you know, if you're interested in a Mini, what's it like going on longer journeys and what do you have to do charging. And the last thing to say is we did 6 charging sessions and in total 54 kilowatt hours added. That's amazingly spot on what I estimated. I was saying 55.
Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching. See you again soon for more videos, more adventures with solar panels, home storage batteries and electric car journeys and stuff like that. Test drives. Take care. Bye for now.